Good morning, everyone. This is the beginning of live session. I'm going to record 2 and 1 if you're doing a playback. This is live session 2 and 3 of week 1. All right. Welcome to class. This is government. This can be a little bit quicker than what we did in class. So anything that we did in class that you need to go back and do, I'll give you instructions to do that. You'll find connected next to this video, the PowerPoint that we used and stuff. There's going to be some links in this PowerPoint that I won't replay during the session, just in case, or I'll show you where you need to go because we did a lot of things during the session that you can go back and you can do. That'll be a little bit time consuming, like things in the module or reading announcements or working on some notebooks. Okay. All right, let's get started. I'm Mrs. Hall and I'm excited to get going. All right. So like I said, we did 2 sessions and I'm recording those kind of 2 in 1. So first half is going to be kind of Wednesdays and then second half is going to be Thursdays. Okay. So Wednesday was the 10th, Thursday was the 11th. All right, so first thing we did kind of a check-in, just really quick. We kind of said, what did you have for breakfast? Again, we won't duplicate that. We just kind of checked in really quick, make sure everybody was up and going. We did a quick review from Monday. Remember, Monday we focused on kind of basics of the class, the attendance policy, due dates, reassessment, remind setup, and honor lock. So attendance, if the only way to get attendance on Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays, you have to attend the live sessions. Tuesdays and Fridays, you fill out those attendance assignments that are in the attendance module in Canvas, okay? And there's an attendance announcement in your Canvas course. So if you go into Canvas, go to announcements and read the attendance announcement, it will go over that. Assignment due dates, all assignments are going to be due on Tuesdays and Fridays. And you have 1 week after the assignment is due to get them in according to the late policy. Remember, if you're late turning in assignments, then you will have, it will go in the grade book at 50%. If you turn it in during those 7 days, then you can still get full credit, and then that grade will replace the 50%. After those 7 days, it closes, okay? This includes reassessment, okay? So if you go into Canvas, go to announcements, I did a due dates and a reassessment announcement. We talked about this on Monday when we went over course expectations, okay? You get 1 reassessment per test or quiz. You must request that reassessment during those 7 days, okay? Now, the way to request an assessment is you have to first make sure you have all your formative work in. So that would be example, Module 1, Lesson 1. In order to reassess on the Module 1, Lesson 1 quiz, you have to make sure you have in all Module 1, Lesson 1 work. So the course arc and the notebook. And then you would email me. So it says it right here, please email me. Oh, doesn't want to highlight for me. Please email me specifically which module and lesson that you would like to reassess. Again, has to be within those 7 days of late work period. If you have all your formative work in, then I'm happy to go back and reset it for you to take. If you have accommodations for a 504 or IEP to have an extension, so whether that be notes or double note-taking time, I've gone into Honor Lock and I've made note of that, so that shouldn't be a problem. Or if that gives you extended time for reassessment, then you email me. And again, I can reopen that, but you have to make sure that you're within your timeline allocated. So for example, if it says double the time for reassessment, if it is double the time, then that means you would have 2 weeks instead of 1 week. So you have to make sure that you're requesting that within that time. If that means turning in work, then again, you have to make sure that you are turning that in. So assignments are going to close after the 7 days. So this is really important that you're paying attention to this. So that assignment is going to close after the 7 days. We highly encourage that you stay with the pacing guideline, okay? Because the course is going to keep moving and we'll be covering content, and falling behind doesn't help anybody. Okay, it doesn't help anybody following behind. So if for some reason, though, you have an assignment that is done, first make sure it's done, okay, that you're within your allocated time allotted within the IEP or 504, and then email me the completed assignment, okay? If it's within the allocated time of your plan, then I will grade it and I will go ahead and put in the grade book, okay? All right. Let me come back over to our presentation here. Back over to our presentation and we'll keep going. Okay. Um, we went over how to sign up for Remind. Remind is really important. Please make sure you signed up for that. You can find that on the teacher sign up page. Okay, so on the teacher page, also on the welcome page. Okay, so the announcement page, I did an announcement. Welcome announcement, there's information signing up for the Remind and also on the teacher page. Okay, so where it says about your teacher, both those pages give you the Remind access. Honor lock is really important. You have to have a valid ID. So it has to be within the last 2 years from CCSD. It has to be a CCSD ID. If you don't have one, then you need to make your way down to NVLA sometime between 7:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. before the end of the month, before the end of August, okay? You also have to have a web camera so that you can show the room. These are really important in order to be able to use Honor Lock, okay? You must complete the introduction module and module 0 in Canvas before you can start module 1 because those are prerequisites in order for that to unlock. Okay. The way we started class or kind of introducing government is we used the topic of pizza. All right. So in class, I set up a poll and I asked people what their favorite type of pizza topping was. So is it cheese or meat or veggie or everything? Overwhelmingly in all the courses, everybody loved meat. Okay. And the reason we use this analogy was the idea of, how can we relate pizza toppings to government? The way the discussion went was, if you ask people on the street, generally speaking in the United States, do you think we need a government? Overwhelmingly, people are going to say yes. If you say no, then you're an anarchist. Okay, and anarchy means you believe we should have no government. And there are a few people out there that believe that. They're the outlier, but there are some people that believe that and stuff. But majority of people believe no, somebody has to be in charge. We need to have some law and order. We have to have a shaping to things to keep society going and keep us organized and going. And we all believe we want that. We need that. We want to thrive and have organization. Okay. Now, what that looks like, right? That's where the debate begins. We could even get into, we had a little bit of a discussion class. Do we like deep dish or thin crust? Should there be Hawaiian pizza? That actually became quite controversial. True story, when I was in Maui this summer, Hawaii, and I went and got pizza one night because we wanted to eat on the beach. I thought it'd be funny to ask the shop owner, the pizza owner, so do you get a lot of people that order Hawaiian pizza? Ha ha ha. He didn't think it was funny, kind of scowled at me, and I was like, oh, my bad, my bad. So that actually becomes quite controversial, right? And if we use that same analogy within government, right? Super controversial how people feel about government, what kind of government. So think about that. Political party, laws, taxes, regulation, to what extent, the Constitution, what should be changed. I think here just recently, Congress is overturning of Roe versus Wade. That's been extremely divisive within our society. So there's a lot of, we have elections coming up this fall. So we're going to see people voting for, the House and the Senate, not for every position, but for a lot of positions and stuff. So these things become really divisive, right? Here in 2 years, we'll be voting for President of the United States. This becomes super controversial, right? And so often we can agree on big picture ideas, like basic concepts, but then when we narrow it down, people have a really hard time. Sorry, trying to kick me out. It's trying to kick me out and stuff. All right, let me keep going here. All right. Now, we've established that there is a government, okay? Now, there are types of government. Now, in order to have a government, you have to have a country, okay? And you have to have people to form a country. So let's talk about that. In order to have a government, first, how do you have a country? What does that look like? Are there different entities that make that? So sometimes you have different things that make up a country. So sometimes you have a state, sometimes you have a nation, sometimes you have things within that make up a country. So a state is considered a territory that has its own government or boundaries within a large country. We're familiar with this within the United States. The state of Nevada is a territory, right, with its own government within the boundaries of the United States. We are one of 50 states, right? within the United States. We have our own local government. We have a city ordinance, we have a county ordinance, and then we have a state ordinance. Our state capital, Carson City, that small little town near Reno in the northern part of the state. Okay, so other countries like Canada, they might not call them states, they have provinces, okay, which have these smaller territories within a country, okay, so smaller governments within a larger government that rule along with, but under the guidance of the larger government, okay. There are nations, okay? Now, in order to have a nation, you have a large body of people united under a common descent, history, culture, or language, inhabiting a country or territory. Now, historically, a nation is a monoculture, okay? And that's historically speaking. So when we say a common people, a descendant of history, culture, or language, that's because people didn't move around. You go back more than 250, 300 years, people were very monoculture. You tended to stick with people that were like you, language, descendant, ethnicity, culture, background. And that's because people didn't travel around. You know, really without modern technology, we were not monoculture. We were monoculture. We weren't multicultural. And stuff. So it's with technology, ships, planes, trains, automobiles, and things like that, that we have become multicultural over time. And so I know that you and I have gotten really used to this concept of a multicultural world, especially living in the United States and in cities and larger areas where it is very common to live, amongst diverse people and cultures and language and things like that, and travel around the world and travel. And that's actually something that's really exciting and interesting and something that we want to do and learn about these other cultures and ideas and things like that. Historically speaking, that just was not a common thing because it was dangerous and life was short and life expectancy was short. And it just wasn't something you were able to do. So if you think back to your world history class and think about the development of time and historically speaking, that just didn't really happen and why that didn't happen, and then how that's a relatively new concept. Countries develop out of nations, okay? So a nation is, this common group of people that inhabits a country or territory. So a common group of people that comes together and then kind of claims a land. And then a country is that nation on a common land that develop its own government. So what is a government? Okay, so we took a couple minutes, we went over to our chat box. Okay, so this is where, again, we had these activities in class that kind of take some time. So that's why these videos will go a little bit faster and stuff than what we did in class. So we took some time and we talked about, what is a general functioning definition of government, and maybe not our definition of government in the United States. So not just specific to us, but just any government. What would any government need to have? So some things some people threw out: taxes, laws, some kind of law, rules, law and order. Somebody has to be in charge. It could be one person, it could be many people. So you have to have some kind of infrastructure. And we even talked about that that the concept of a government plays out not only just in a country, but maybe in a workplace or even the classroom. Think about it, the teacher student relationship in the workplace. If you have a job, right, you often have a supervisor. So maybe you have a shift manager, and then you have a store manager, and you have an owner, and there's an infrastructure to think. There's rules, you know what I mean? Think about it. What did I just go over at the beginning of class? There's rules, right? For attendance, for how you're supposed to be in these meets, for how you're supposed to turn assignments. There's due dates, there's penalties if you don't, right? There's rules and how those are enforced. So the textbook definition is a group of people or agencies entrusted with making and carrying out laws and policies agreed upon by the larger population, okay, that carry that out. So it's a group or people or agencies. So like we talked about with the United States, we have a president. Sometimes maybe in history it was a monarch, or it could be a dictator. So somebody's in charge and they carry out those laws and stuff. So actually our discussion was very close to the textbook definition of what that is.
People of cohort, I have something to say. Now that we've freed ourselves from the terrible shackles of government, it's time to replace it with something better. The first thing we need is a system of rules that everyone must live by.
Gotta have rules.
And since we can't spend all our time making rules, I think that we should elect some people to represent us, and they should make rules and choices on our behalf. Now, this may be kind of expensive, so I got a plan. Everyone should have to give some money from their salaries each year. Poor people will give a little bit of money, and rich people will give a larger amount of money. And our representatives will use all that money to hire some people who will then provide us with social order and basic services.
There's not one shirt I wish I had out there.
Now, it won't be perfect. Some of our representatives may end up being bastards. But you know what? That's okay. Because later we're going to have more elections, and we can use those elections to get rid of the bad guys and replace them with good guys. And then the system will just keep going on and on, just like that. So who's with me? Will you join me in trying this new crazy thing? Then let's do it. Yeah, and we did it all without government.
I'm very proud of you.
So, gotta love a little Family Guy, a little humor, okay? All right, 4 things a state must have in order to be considered a state, country, or nation, okay, that or eventually then operates under a government, all right? You have to have people. You have to have that group of people, all right? You have to have land. You have to have that territory. You have to have sovereignty. So that's some sort of declaration that you are independent, that you are free of someone else's bond or hand, okay? And then you have to set up a government. Now, there are many different types of government, and we're going to talk a little bit about that next week in our live session and stuff when we wrap this up before we assess, okay, as we wrap up Module 1, Lesson 1. So before we end this section, we go into our next session because I'm going to kind of put these together and stuff. One of the last things we did is I helped students just kind of quickly understand how they open up their notebooks and stuff. So what we did was we went into, make sure that this is still recording okay. All right, yep, it's recording. Okay, so we went into our module and I wanted students to understand exactly how we get into the notebook, all right? And then we opened up our next session with finishing up a little bit more about the concepts of government, what kind of concept our government has, and then getting into how we do our assignment, because this correlates with what we're talking about, okay? So before you can get into your notebook, you have to make sure you've done Module 0. Okay, this was your assignment on last Tuesday on the 9th, okay? You have to do the intro module, okay? And then there's the attendance module that you got to do every Tuesday and Friday. There's the scholars module for attendance, okay? And then we're working in Module 1.1, okay? So we click in the Module 1 overview. So every module, you'll have like an overview page, and it tells you how many lessons are in that module, working on Lesson 1. So Lesson 1 is going to be due, for instance, next Tuesday, okay? And then Lesson 2 will be due next Friday, and then Lesson 3 the following, and it just kind of carries on, okay? Okay, so this first page, this is where we launch our notebook. So we click on Notebook. Okay, when we do that, it says make a copy. So you click on make a copy. And I'm doing this, I won't do this every time we do a video, but this is just to make sure that we're on the same page of how you do this, because you'll be doing these notebooks pretty much every lesson, okay? So what you're going to do when you open these is you're going to want to relabel it. So I would keep in the name of the notebook, but I would probably label it with my last name. So I put Hall, okay? I would save it on my Google Drive, and then I would share it. Now, because when you submit it in Google Drive, you want to make sure that I can open it. So I would click it to anyone, okay, and save it. And then I would create a government file right here where I could save all of them so that you have them all in one place, okay? You want to keep them organized. And then I would keep this open because you're going to be filling this out as you go through, right? Then you click back here over into Canvas, click through. Now, every time in the lesson, you're going to have this course arc. Now, when you look at the module, okay, there are basically 3 things you complete in a lesson. You complete the notebook and the course arc. Oh, sorry, let me scroll down here. You complete the course arc, which is something we're going to launch here in a second. That's worth 21 points, and you complete the notebook. You do these basically at the same time, and then you do the lesson when you're done, okay? The notebook, when you go to do the notebook, okay, there's a rubrics right here, and it tells you what is required in each section, okay? So if you're ever curious, like what you need to do for a certain section, how long does my response need to be? Well, it's like 2 paragraphs for the journal, okay, to get full points. 1 to 2 paragraphs, 12 points. 9 points for 1 full paragraph. 10 points. So it'll always, if you're ever not sure like how to score, there's always a rubrics on a submission page, okay? So if we click back 1 page, it'll take us back to that course arc launch page. Okay, so we click on the blue launch, and it launches us into the Course Arc program. Okay, this is going to correlate with the notebook. Okay, so I put in my name. And then what's going to happen is as you go through this, it is going to correlate with this. Now, you're always going to have an intro page. There's also another link to the notebook. So if you didn't do it on the last page, you could do it here. Okay. And it's going to outline that. Now, we spent a little bit of time in class doing this, and I'm not going to do this as much during the live session. Okay. But I'll take you through like the first two, just so you kind of get a feel. So for instance, the first thing says essential question. There's the essential question right here. Okay. Is government necessary in order to have a successful running country? Here's your essential question. Why? It's even bolded. Why do you need to know why do you need to know about US government? So you're going to type that in here. Why do you need to know about US government? So you put that right here, literally. Okay. So that's your notebook section. Okay. Then we watch this video. So we literally watched this during class. So we ended class with this on Wednesday. Okay. So if I jumped over here, sorry, this was the right one. That's how I ended the session. So we opened the module, overviewed it, we downloaded it, we talked about the course art, and then we saved the essential question. Okay. So then on Thursday, I started class. So that was Wednesday's session. Now I'm starting Thursday's session. Okay. And I just did a warm up. All right. So we kind of reviewed really quick. What did we talk about on Wednesday, which is what is government? Okay. Every country has to have a government. Basically, everybody has a government, whether you have a monarchy, you have a democracy, what is government? You have to have a government, period. Okay. So what makes a government? So a state, a nation. Okay. So we had that conversation, and that we reviewed the announcements, and we talked about attendance again, and then we jumped in. Okay. And then I did a little bit more of a serious opener, which is what do you feel you need most from your teachers to be successful online? And we opened that up in the chat box. And I really appreciated people's feedback, just kind of helping me with some of the common things I heard was communication, feedback, patience, being detailed with due dates, going through assignments is part of the reason that I'm talking more about the notebook and kind of giving that demonstration. And again, it was a bit more detailed in class. That's why I really encourage you to come to class, or if you're ever not sure, coming on Tuesday, Friday to those group sessions where you can get some individual counsel, and I can take you through step-by-step on homework. And I'll talk more about that at the end of this session if you want more information about that. Okay. Then we got into specifically, well, what kind of government does the US have? And actually, most of the time people are wrong about this. Okay. So we did a poll, and I put in a couple of options. I said, what kind of government does the US have? We all know we have a government, but actually most of the time people get it wrong. So is it indirect democracy? Is it a republic? Is it an oligarchy, or is it a representative monarchy? Most people voted it was either an indirect democracy or a republic. Okay, now to save time, we are going to, I'm not going to watch the video in class right now because this takes about 5 minutes, but the PowerPoint is going to be linked right next to this video. So when you're going through the PowerPoint, watch this video and it's going to answer that question. Okay. And the answer is it's a republic. Okay. But this explains in detail why, and you need to know that for your quiz, for the module 1 lesson 1 quiz. Okay. So the PowerPoint will be linked right next to these playbacks. So I'll always have these videos posted, and then I'll have the corresponding PowerPoints that you're watching right here linked. And oftentimes I won't play the video during the PowerPoint, just because during these videos to save time and stuff, because I'm recording these a little bit separately and stuff. So you need to go back, and those videos are super helpful. Okay. There are 5 types of government. Okay. And so we talked really quick about, what are those 5 types of government? All right. And so people chatted those off really quick, and then we watched a quick YouTube video. So again, you go back, please open up this PowerPoint in a separate tab, and then you click on this tab right here. Boom. Okay. Just like the other one. And it'll play.
Cruising the Pacific.
It'll play a quick 2-minute video and explain that to you. Okay. The 5 different kinds of government. And then we talked really quickly about the difference between a democracy and a dictatorship. Okay. A democracy is going to be a government in where the people have a say in government, okay? Where the people kind of incorporating what John Locke says are natural rights, so the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of property, okay? And then Thomas Jefferson will change that to pursuit of happiness. A little plagiarism going on there. I always joked when I taught world history that, your English teachers get after you for plagiarism, or I get after you, in your notebooks. Don't just copy paste. Vocab, I don't care if you do that, but everything else needs to be in your own words. And stuff. Yet Thomas Jefferson, we hail him this hero, and he totally takes from John Locke, but yet doesn't give credit stuff. I mean, and I'm not saying Thomas Jefferson, didn't write a good document, but still, like where's the credit, to John Locke? Clearly the source there. You got to source your credit there. So explain the difference between democracy and dictatorship. So democracy is going to be this by the people, right? Where the people are voting. And we're going to see this in the module where democracy goes all the way back to Athens, where there's direct democracy, where people are literally voting on every single thing that they're involved in. Okay. And in fact, early democracy, you had to be involved. You basically had to be rich. You could not, you couldn't vote unless you were a rich Athenian male, because it was a full-time job. Think about it. If we had to vote on every single thing that was going on in this country, I mean, we would have time for nothing else. It's a very inefficient way to do things. It sounds great because I want to know what's going on, but it's actually sounds like a headache. You know what I mean? So we actually practice what's indirect democracy. We have a republic, yet which is based on the rule of law, a government that is governed by a rule of law, our Constitution and our Bill of Rights, which that quick video that I told you to watch really clarifies, okay? But it is carried out through indirect democracy, right? We elect our representatives to go and carry things out on our behalf. So we definitely have an element of democracy. So that is democracy, right? Where the people make decisions or help determine law or help determine their government. They are the ruling hand or the deciding factor in their government. A dictatorship is where a single person or party, okay, backed by a military, because if you have a single party or a person, I mean, you're like, well, how do they keep power? The people, if they don't like them, they can just overthrow them. Well, then you got to have muscle behind you, right? You're only as powerful as, the people behind you, that muscle or something like that. So a single party or dictatorship. So this could be a monarchy. This could just be a military dictator, a general or something like that. A single party or a dictator, okay, rules over the people and exerts their authority through power, okay, through muscle. What we did with the remainder of our period, we spent some time and we went into the module and we built off of what we did on Wednesday. Okay, so we relaunched, we went into Canvas. Okay, we went back into the module, we relaunched our course arc. Okay, had our notebook open, we had our essential question. You can copy and paste it. I don't mind if you copy and paste the essential question and vocab. Everything else needs to be typed, okay? So anything where it asks you to explain, summarize, or anything like that, it has to be typed. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is plagiarism, okay? Anything that has to be in your own words. But if it's vocab, like a definition or something, I don't mind if you copy and paste it. But other than that, it needs to be in your own words. I will not give you full credit, okay? You will get a low score. I'm just telling you now. Okay, so what we did was we went through, okay, we watched this video on why we study governments, any of these videos you want to watch, okay, and then at the bottom of each of these pages, there's going to be a checking for understanding. So this is where it's really important. This checking for understanding, this is the course arc score. So remember how in the module, you had the notebook score and you had the course arc score. The course arc score is at the bottom of each page. So what you do is after watching the video, you're going to answer the question and you push submit. This automatically just selected one. You don't know exactly which one is true, so you got to watch the video. Okay, you select and you push submit. If you're not happy with your score, you can choose something else and you push submit. And as you go through each page, there will be a question or a couple questions. Sometimes it'll be 4, sometimes it'll be 1, sometimes it'll be a couple. And this is how you earn the credit. Okay, so why do we study government? I'll give you a hint or just help you out. In order to become better citizens, we push submit. Boom, we got it right. Okay, and we go to the next one. And what you'll notice is that the sections, as you go through and you complete the sections here, they are going to correspond with the notebook. write each vocab word and its definition, okay? So don't skip the videos. The videos are super helpful, okay? So do not skip those. And in fact, not skip it in class, okay? I'm just doing it to save time on the video, but you should watch them, okay? So next we have our vocab. So here would be our first vocab word, government. So you would type that in. And then you would do the definition. So you click it, definition, okay? A central government known as a unitary system. Here would be the definition right here, okay? The key decisions are made, okay. The key decisions are made in a unitary state, or the local government must administer those policies. So I would do that last part, okay? So then you would type it in. And you would keep it going, okay? To save time, again, I'm not going to do that. We did this literally in class together. We spent like 5 minutes doing this, and we did every single one. So you would take the time and you would do that. So there's the first one. You click through. Your next one, social contract. So you would write social contract, put the definition. There's the definition, okay? So I don't mind if you kind of do this portion of it, okay? Natural rights, okay? So social contract is more Thomas Hobbes and stuff. So the framers agree that individual rights must be protected from any form of government. So this is kind of contract that people agree, the government shouldn't abuse power, and the people then agree to work in conjunction with the government. Natural rights, this is going to be John Locke, that life, liberty, pursuit of property that all people are born with, despite your social class. Direct democracy and indirect democracy. So those will be your fourth and fifth terms. Okay, so direct is where people vote on every single thing, right? So no representative is elected, and people vote on every decision. And then indirect, right, is where people elect a representative to go and vote on their behalf. Okay, then you always are going to do a course arc activity, and this earns points. Okay, so this part is where you're going to match the vocab word. So I'll do like 2 of these with you. So the people elect a representative to express their interests. So that's going to be indirect, right? The people do not elect someone, right? They do it all on their own. That's going to be indirect. A sister government where people freely enter into that social contract. Rights that individually are born with or naturally entitled to. A group of people or agencies entrusted with making and carrying out laws. That's what this whole class is about, right? It's in fact labeled that. Government. Boom, check it. We got it right. Okay, and then we go to the next page. Okay, so then you just keep going through. So you'll notice your next section. So you should have already put your 5 terms and defined them to get full credit. Okay, concepts of government. Identify 5 types of government in the world and identify a current country that represents them. So you just have to give the 5 types and give the country. So there's going to be your 5 types of government there. So you want to always read these excerpts. Okay, there's your 5 types. So I would go through and I would list them. So there's a dictatorship. We're going to talk more about these on Monday a little bit. We didn't get enough time this week, so we're going to spend, okay. Then we had oligarchy. I think it was monarchy. And then there were 2 more. Okay, so there was representative monarchy and democracy. So you type those in, then you need to click on each one to get an example of what it is and a country that does it today. Okay, so again, one person controls the government, and the people have little to no political power. So most common examples, Adolf Hitler, so that was Germany during World War II, or Fidel Castro, so that is communism in Cuba, right? So you could put, let's say Cuba. Cuba is still ruled under communism. Okay, so let's say you put Cuba. Okay. And you do this for each one. So you would want to read what the definition is. So an oligarchy is a limited participation or few rights granted to the people, powers held by an exclusive group of people. So a good example, Russia's had an oligarchy, Iraq's had an oligarchy and stuff, where you have kind of these elite small group of people that rules in conjunction with kind of often a single party. Okay, so a great example of that, like in Russia, there has been these oligarchs. You kind of heard about this, like with the sanctions that they've been putting down on Russia during the Ukrainian war. And what they've been doing is these oligarchs, often what happens is they have basically monopolies within the country. They're super rich. So modern day oligarchies, what they look like is you have these super rich companies led by an individual, okay, and stuff, and they just basically run the country, okay. So you'll have like often a leader or a president or a, you know, a king or something like that within a president, you know, a ruler, okay. Just because someone calls himself a president doesn't mean it was a free formed election, right? And so somebody will call themselves the leader of a country, and they will rule in conjunction with these very, very rich companies, the leaders of these countries, these oligarchs, okay? And they have a monopoly in every industry of the country, and together they basically rule over the country, and they have contracts with, quote unquote, the government, okay? And that's often present day what oligarchs kind of look like. So Russia or, but Iraq would be a great example of that here in recent history. So you could put Iraq, okay? Monarchy, okay? So again, same thing. You click on it, get a description, and so on, okay? Then you're going to read about it, okay? So to save time, again, we did these things in class, so this took some time. And then you go through, you answer questions based on the reading. This is the course arc part, okay? And then you click to the next part. And you do this for each part, okay? So the student's assignment on Friday, all right, was to finish their notebook and the course arc. And as you go through each part, this is what you're supposed to be doing, okay? A couple of clarifications, okay? As you go through each part, anytime something's highlighted, that's going to give you a definition, so you should definitely click on that. That's really helpful because it's like it's going to be a vocab word, so you want to make sure that you understand, and those are free game on the chapter quiz, okay? Or lesson quiz, I should say. This chart is going to be really helpful when you are doing the next section right here, okay? And it's going to be 2 sentences, all right? So a sentence for each one. Part 5, where it says explain why the Magna Carta is still talked about today, almost 800 years in 1 paragraph, and explains in lesson. 1 paragraph is 5 sentences. So let me be really clear about that. 1 paragraph is 5 sentences. In order to get full credit on that, you want to make sure that you have 5 sentences, okay? Down here, the summaries, you're going to put the locations, and then again, a couple of sentences summary about each location and why it was important. Here it says 1 to 2 paragraphs. In the rubrics on the submission page in the module, so if you go to that submission page, it's going to show you that 2 paragraphs for the journal, 2 paragraphs for full credit, 1 to 2 for partial credit, okay? So you want to make sure whenever they give you the suggestion of 1 to 2, in order to get full credit, you got to make sure you're doing that 2 paragraphs. So that would be 2 5-sentence paragraphs. So I'm just being really clear with you what the expectation is, okay? And then down here, again, 1 paragraph, I believe is what they're asking for. Let me look. Yeah, 1 full paragraph, so minimum 5 sentences. So if you're concerned about really scoring full points, which I would hope you would, okay, that's what I would like to see, then making sure that you're meeting those requirements, okay? All right. The last thing we talked about was small groups, okay? So on those Tuesdays and Fridays, I am available from 9 to 9:30, and this is posted on my homepage, okay? NVLA Hall SG, okay? And what I will be doing on those Tuesdays and Fridays for those 30 minutes is specifically just going over lesson homework. So course arc or notebooks during those 30 minutes. Okay, so if you need individual help, if you were gone, or if you have questions or things like that, I can do that. If you want help preparing for your quiz that we're doing, that's due that day, because remember, things are due on Tuesdays and Fridays. So if you ever need specific assistance, I also will be inviting, you know, people to come, specific groups of people maybe to come. If you seem like maybe you're absent, or if you've been struggling a little bit or things like that, you know, to come and get those individual helps. Okay. I also have office hours every Tuesday and Friday from 9:30 to 10:30. So if you're running a little late, or if you have something else going, you can always come again during that hour. Drop in. You don't have to have an appointment. Just drop in. I'm available. I'm going to be live to help you answer questions. I'm available all day on Tuesdays and Fridays. Honestly, send a remind, send me an email. We can always just set up an appointment real quick. Drop in on a Google Meet or set up a Google Meet, and I can help you out, okay? And stuff. That is my whole goal. Like I opened up with the, kind of the warm up, what can I do to help you be successful? Biggest thing though I need from you is to communicate, right? I have like 200 students, so I can't read your minds, especially with those tiles, right? That's one of the harder things about being online. Is in person, it's a little bit easier to assess maybe when a student needs help, and it's a little bit hard to do that when you're online, especially if you're not coming to the live sessions. So dropping in, self-advocating, because I definitely want to do that. I want to be available. You just have to do your part to reach out, okay? So if you have questions, if you're not sure about something, please reach out. Definitely these live sessions and get live help, okay? Thank you so much. Let me know if you have questions, and make sure that you're completing the course arc and the notebook at the same time, and then that you're submitting that by next Tuesday. And then in class on Monday, on the 15th, we are going to specifically go over some tips for the quiz, okay? So how you can prep for your quiz so that you can do well for that. And then again, I'll have those small group office hours if you need additional help prepping for that, okay? Thank you so much. All right, I'll talk to you soon.